Chinese car company Candy deployed the following strategy. They made an electric car. They sold it to a so-called car sharing company. This was a shell company set up by Candy itself, but without any formal relation. They parked the car in a field. They took out the battery pack. They assembled the same battery with a new ID plate into another car, and they did the whole thing over again. This was profitable because the cost of making the car without a battery was lower than the cost of the EV subsidy. But, big problem here, this doesn't apply. In 2016, the Chinese government clamped down on this subsidy fraud. They actually fined a string of manufacturers, essentially bankrupting them. They took away licenses and ended those car companies. At the same time, they tightened subsidy rules, increased monitoring of the manufacturers, and they lowered subsidy amounts for EVs. After that, there haven't been any high-profile cases of EV subsidy fraud. The pictures you see in this video are from Hangzhou. The pictures you see in this video are from Hangzhou in China, and they relate to a car-sharing service called MicroCity that went bankrupt in 2019. In fact, there's also pictures there from a company called Autolib, which was a Paris-based car-sharing service that went bankrupt in 2018. Now, Lee Brevoort made that comment on a post on Inside EVs, where basically Inside EVs was promoting this original story, saying it was true, saying it actually, yes, BYD and NIO have basically put hundreds of thousands of electric cars in a field just to beat Tesla, just to prop up their sales, just to get subsidies. Right now, there is well over 100,000, if not more than 1 million, depending on what your source is, vehicles parked, basically left to rot, to dump in Chinese car fields. This is true. However, those vehicles are not what you think. Many of you have been sending me a link to a viral video. It's had millions of views now about Chinese electric car manufacturers, BYD and NIO in particular, dumping electric cars, hundreds of thousands of them in fields because they want to benefit from a Chinese EV scheme, providing them subsidies, and they want to lie about their sales numbers so it looks like they're selling more cars than Tesla. Now, obviously, the creator of this video has made these claims. He's saying BYD is doing this simply to benefit from schemes from the Chinese government, and number two, to actually say it's selling more EVs than Tesla. Therefore, it's willing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in the most expensive marketing scheme in the history of the global automotive industry, simply to one-up rival Tesla. Now, I watched the video, and it was the most humorous video that I think I've ever seen. The fact that people watched this and believed a single word of it has to make me question why people will watch this and not question the fact that almost every car showed in the video had a gasoline tank in it. In fact, almost every car shown in the video was actually a petrol car and not an EV. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. My name's Sam Evans. I'm the Electric Viking. And yes, of course, I do have an incentive here in trashing this video, and that is to, well, tell the truth. Many YouTube channels, and I've bemoaned this for a long time, want you to click. They are desperate for you to click, so they create any narrative for you to do so. In fact, they'll even make up things that are completely false in order for you to click. Is there any truth to these claims about BYD and NIO leaving tens of thousands of cars, or if not hundreds of thousands of cars according to this video, in fields to rot? Well, I watched the entire video. In fact, I replayed it a few times without sound because it's hard to listen to some of the nonsense in this video. And hey, it's very possible that BYD has put a bunch of cars in a field. It looks like BYD has left maybe, I don't know, a couple of thousand cars in a field somewhere. What EVs they look to be plug-in hybrids to me. I could be wrong though, it's hard to see from the video because the video only shows these cars for a couple of seconds. About 90% of the video, they show models from neither of those brands, neither NIO or BYD. In fact, they show vehicles from a completely different brand, and they are all gasoline-powered vehicles. They're not plug-in hybrids, they're not hybrids, they're purely gasoline-powered cars. Now, I reported on this a while ago, a few months ago, in fact. I reported on the fact that there are thousands of gasoline-powered vehicles in China sitting there to rot. That narrative would be true. Of course, the creator of this video doesn't want to tell you the truth. They just want to tell you something that sells. EVs are bad. EVs will destroy the environment. China is destroying EVs. Those sorts of things. Yeah, you see my point. Clearly, it is true that there are tens of thousands of cars sitting in fields. Like I said, I've reported on that numerous times. That is a fact. But they are not EVs. They are gasoline-powered vehicles. And I'll tell you the reason for that. The reason is, even if there is some fault in these BYD and NIO cars that meant they had to be stored, right? Which there may be. I suspect there probably was a problem with the battery packs. Even then, those batteries are actually worth something. Why? Because you can use them for energy storage. You can use them for a number of different purposes. However, if you have a gasoline-powered vehicle that won't sell, it's of no use to anyone whatsoever in any way possible. Meaning, well, the fact that now there has been a massive overbuild out of gasoline-powered vehicles. In fact, there is quite truthfully hundreds of thousands, if not more than 1 million gasoline-powered cars sitting in Chinese fields. That is the real story here. Unfortunately, the person who made this video isn't interested in telling you the truth, and that is the truth. There are literally hundreds of thousands, if not more than, possibly more than 2 million gasoline-powered vehicles that can't be sold, because the key reason here is no one wants them. People don't want old gasoline-powered cars. In fact, they don't even want current model gasoline-powered cars in many cases. What does that mean? Well, legacy auto and Chinese car manufacturers just built too many gasoline-powered cars. And as the world moved away from gasoline-powered cars and started buying EVs, well, as Chinese consumers did, it meant that the subpar gasoline-powered cars didn't have enough demand for the numbers they were producing. Now, many factories in China have been shut down. Many car manufacturers in China are no longer operating because there just isn't enough demand for the gasoline-powered cars they made. Now, you may be thinking, hey, Viking, I mean, this guy sounds legit. He sounds like he's telling the truth. Well, I would question why then at this point of 649, 651, 653, 655, 815, 857, 909, and at other places during the video, he showed aerial drone shots and close-up shots right next to his face in mega close-ups of gasoline tanks. Clearly, places where you put in your fuel pump. Guys, honestly, if you want someone who's going to give you an accurate indicator of what's going on in China, this guy who pretends that he's a Chinese person who hates China, he's probably not the right place to go to for your source material. People keep doing it. They keep on sending me the emails and messages. But really, I'm pretty confident I've debunked this guy's claims, considering the fact that almost all the footage he used was of petrol and gasoline-powered cars. Is there overbuilding of cars in China? Like I said, 100%. It's a known fact. I've reported on this numerous times, but I've told you guys the absolute truth, which is that way too many gasoline powers were made for market demand. When it comes to EVs, they are sellable. Every single EV in China, as long as it's from a reputable manufacturer, is sellable. Are there EVs being made by non-reputable manufacturers in China? Yes, there are. Will those companies struggle to sell them? Very possibly. In fact, a number of EV manufacturers that you've never heard of in China have gone bankrupt. That is a true story. But that is not the story being discussed in this video. However, I'll report on that very soon. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for watching.